So, right now I'm an educationist. I teach in an alternative school about 45 kilometers from here. Uh, in the past, that's about 4 years ago, I was quite actively engaged with researching into the lake system of Bangalore. Um, how I got into that was in 2006 as part of this environmental activist group, Hasiru Usuru. And the group started off by looking at the greenery, trees, and other such things. We got interested in a particular lake, that is Nagora Lake in North Bangalore. Overnight, a kind of a wall started being built around that lake. So that got us interested in finding out what's going on over there. And that led us to finding out that the Lake Development Authority had actually leased that lake out to a private group, Lumini Developers. So then that all seemed to happen without public knowledge. So some of us got interested. We went and met up with the CEO of Lake Development Authority, etc., and tried to understand what was going on. And then gradually that led me on to do a fellowship with an organization, a research project with an organization called CED, Center for Education and Documentation. And I focused on this PPP model of the LDA. It was largely a critique of that model. So that was the first research project that I did on lakes. And then following that, I've done several research projects with different organizations, focusing on the lakes. And my interest has largely been the lakes, not so much as ecological systems, but as socio-economic political systems in some way, with ecology somewhere in the backdrop, but clearly looking at them as man-made structures and in an urban landscape at this point of time, and seeing how urbanization has had impact on these water bodies, which have a man-made history to them. So Rajnarli lake belongs to a series of lakes in the North Bangalore, and it is in the Hebbal Valley, the northeastern kind of valley. Rajnarli, I've been tracking that lake from 2008 because I used to work in Ashoka Trust for research in ecology and environment, which was close to the lake. So I've been tracking it photographically for the last several years, 6-7 years. In 2008, at that point of time, it still retained many of the features of the previous system. So when I say that, I mean the linear bund. Then you had sluice mechanisms at 2 points in the lake, which actually facilitated and controlled the flow of water from the lake into the wetlands, where agriculture historically was practiced. Then you had the overflow mechanisms on both sides of the lake and overflow into the Raja Kalwe, the canal. All these systems were in place in 2008, and I managed to take some photos at that point and document it. In 2009, BDA came up with a scheme. I think it was worth a civil engineering project worth 19 crores, which was supposed to redevelop the lake. So their idea of redeveloping this lake was to dismantle all these old mechanisms. So to redo the bund, for example, remove the sluice mechanisms, and build a circular bund right around the lake. So that would serve as a jogging or walking path, etc. But on a larger level, structurally, it also contained the lake. It turned the lake from a structure which was an overflowing structure into a water bowl. So this water bowl engineering has been criticized by several people who have done work on the lake. So the water bowl structure is to try and look at these lakes as singular isolated structures which would collect water from nearby areas, but the overflow was controlled in many ways. So one of the reasons why the overflow was controlled in the sense that, as I said, the sluice mechanisms being removed is one clear sign of controlling the overflow. Once you close the sluice mechanisms, then water is not going to seep out through the bund into the wetlands downstream. So then you're freeing up the wetlands downstream for further development into layouts or any other built up area. So that started happening in 2009, and that work went on until 2010. When they were doing that work, I managed to also capture several of these mechanisms from within the lake. When the work started, they breached the bund and emptied the lake out. So the lake bed was empty. So I managed to get onto the lake bed and take photos of these structures from the lake side of the sluice mechanisms. I was doing it for posterity, and soon after I did it, so sure enough, they reworked the bund and removed all these structures. So I have the photographs of these structures; they don't exist anymore. So in 2010, I think the work was more or less over, and then I visited the place again last year, 2014, to just see what the situation is. The lake is refilled. There is water in it. There is flora, fauna, but there is also a new bird island which has been created in the middle of the lake, and as I said, a ring bund which is surrounding the lake. And I see a lot more buildings which have come up in the last 3-4 years around the lake. So the other aspect of BDA and its role is also, I suspect, catering to a real estate market in some ways. I'm making certain allegations now, but this is also backed by what one sees happening. If you notice the many hoardings that you see of real estate agencies, one of the USPs nowadays is lake view. So that has several angles to it. One is if your apartment complex is located next to a lake, the view is one aesthetic part of it, but it also means that you have a space where you can at the same time dump your sewage into the water body. At the same time, the groundwater recharge can possibly happen through these water bodies. So groundwater is also fairly comfortable if you are located next to a lake. So these are also several things which one has to keep in mind when one looks at this development model of lakes in Bangalore. So the LDA was set up in 2002, and the mandate of that body was to maintain the lakes in Bangalore and to start with, and to look at the whole of Karnataka at some point. And it contained many governmental agencies representative, right from the BWSSB, Bangalore Water Supply and Sewerage Board, from the Bangalore Development Authority, City Corporation, that is the BBMP, Forest Department, and Pollution Control Board. So the idea of that body was to pool in the knowledge of all these different agencies which had something or the other to do with the lakes of Bangalore, and to come up with a model of maintenance that would be sustainable and something that could be could be good for the lakes in the long term. But they came up with this PPP model, public-private partnership model, which aimed at leasing out the lakes to private agencies, private bodies for 15 years at a time. A lease would be 15 years, and it would be extendable by 15 years at the end of the lease period. And there was an annual lease amount which was being charged of those bodies, and tenders were called for the different. They had identified, I think, about 10-15 lakes, and tenders were called for from different agencies, different private bodies. And in my knowledge, there were 3 or 4 agencies which actually had private bodies which had showed interest. So you had the Oberoi hotels which showed interest in Hebbal Lake. Then you had Lumbini developers which showed interest in Nagora. Then you had another, I forget the name of the private body, but which showed interest in Agra Lake. And then you had one more lake on Old Madras Road, which was the leases for all of these were signed. The only lease which is currently running is the Lumbini Gardens one, and that is because of a public interest litigation filed by Environment Support Group, and there was a local campaign against this particular scheme. So where the scheme went wrong, according to me, is that the focus was more on on converting these spaces into commercial spaces, where the idea was the private bodies which are supposed to, among other things, maintain the water quality and the space of these lakes. Commercial activities were set up. In Lumbini Gardens is a prime example. If one visits that space, one can find out that along the shore of one of the lakes, several there are food courts, there are games, there are several fun rides and all of that stuff that was set up on the foreshore of the lake. And the lake is seen as a backdrop to all these activities, and the boating in the lake was also offered as a entertainment pursuit. So the point of this model was that one would have to pay an entry fee to enter into the lake premises, and of course you would have to spend money on all these other activities. So it is seen as a commercial model where the private organizations earn money, and then they are supposed to use that money to maintain the lakes. All that sounded well on paper. Even on paper, one could criticize them, but for them it sounded well on paper. The way it panned out was that one is it privatized the public commons. So that is an enclosure of the public commons in some ways. So there were several groups like fisher groups in Nagwara very specifically, who were alienated from the water body, even though in the agreement one of the clauses was that they wouldn't alienate local groups that are using the lake for livelihood purposes. But for a year, the fishing cooperative which had a lease to fish in that lake was prevented from fishing, which affected livelihoods of fishing community in that area. So one is access to the lake was denied to the common man unless one paid a certain entry fee. The other thing was that all these activity on the shore of the lake also affected the bird life, for example, on the lake. Boating on the lake affected in some cases there was some leakage of oil from some of the boats, motor boats. So the idea was that not to have motor boats but pedal boats, but I think that was also violated. So in terms of access to a public common space, in terms of commercializing it to an extent which actually disturbed the flora and fauna in many ways of that space, and it turning out to be a commercial model for private groups. Their concern is not so much about the maintenance of the lake, but how much money can be sucked out of this public space. So around that there was a strong campaign and PIL, as I said, and the High Court actually ruled in favor of the public interest litigation, saying that public commons cannot be privatized in this manner. So the ruling that came out was I think it was in 2007 or 8, I'm not sure. So the agency, the High Court ruled that the leases that have been already signed should run their whole course for 15 years. There will be no extension of the lease and no more lakes could be leased out. So Nagawara is the only place which had Lumbini developers had set up Lumbini Gardens, what is known as Lumbini Gardens right now, and activities were already happening there. So that is still happening and that will go on till the expiry of the lease. Hebbal Oberoi planned to do several things, including setting up floating restaurants on the lake, etc. And from some research that I did, they also had a plan of setting up a multi-story hotel at the side of the lake. So I think they have backed off from this because of the PIL and the response and all of that. So I haven't seen any development that has happened from the Oberoi group as far as Hebbal Lake is concerned. Similar is the case with Agara Lake. So Agara Lake has actually been handed back to the BBMP. So this model, it was challenged and it was revoked in many ways, and it had its flaws, as I said earlier. If one goes back to the history of these water bodies, they were created as public spaces, where public bodies that could cater to a community and not to specific individuals or to specific user groups. It catered to a wider range of people, such as agriculturists or fisher groups, or even people who kind of depended on the fodder around the lake to feed their cattle, etc., or to wash the cattle, or to even have baths in those water bodies. So the variety of uses of these groups and the range of people that it catered to position them as social spaces in many ways, and commons where it is the usage is common to all, the access is common to a large range of people and not limited to a specific set of groups. So in that way they were conceived as public commons, and I still see them as public commons in the sense that they still have several roles of this nature that they could provide to the larger society. See, the main concern right now is lakes are major receptacles of urban pollution of various kinds, from household sewage to solid waste to industrial waste in certain areas. So that is a very primary and burning issue right now. But apart from that, also is the fact that a lot of these water bodies have been converted into built up area, such as bus stands and private layouts, etc. So they are disappearing in that manner also. The third and for me an interesting issue is also the connections between these water bodies. So these water bodies were constructed in a way in the three valleys, three drainage valleys of Bangalore, in such a way that it was an overflow system. So one lake overflowed into the consecutive one, and so on. The connections between these lakes were also vital, and I think that is fast disappearing along with the lakes themselves. In many cases, the lakes have gone or are going or being encroached upon, etc. But the connection between them in the form of canals are also being lost. Wetlands, of course, are a part of the history, because wetlands formed downstream of the lakes, and agriculture was done in that. But that is a feature of the past, not in the urban present. But at least the canals that connect them are also fast disappearing, which is a challenge. See, with urbanization, what has happened is a lot of land has been converted. So land use has also changed in Bangalore over several. I think it's been very sharp in the 20th century, the land use change. And with land use change, one also has to kind of relook at these systems and then see in the new urbanized city and the change in land use, what role can these water bodies play? For example, in a lake like Rajnahally, which used to have agriculture downstream, there's no agriculture happening now because of several reasons. Agriculture probably not being viable, one part of it, and in an urban landscape, the competing role of several other features of land. The value of land probably being more shifting more towards real estate rather than agricultural land. So then, given these realities, the uses of these water bodies also started changing from time to time. What used to be irrigation tanks typically stopped being irrigation tanks after a point, because the spaces that they irrigated disappeared. So then what role could they have played at different points of time? So different user groups saw them in different ways. And the naturalists, bird watchers saw them as ecological spaces, which need to be conserved as urban ecological spaces, so that there is a vibrant urban ecology in places like Bangalore. That is one user group need, so to say. That user group saw the lakes in that way. Then there are, as I said, people who saw these as leisure and recreation spaces, spaces where one could go to just to unwind, hang out next to, etc. So recreation spaces where one could go to do physical exercise or just to walk, etc. So different user groups started seeing these water bodies in different ways, and then that also dictated their maintenance in some ways, one could say. So there is a direct correlation between that and this, and that was clear from the study that we did in Agra Lake, how the user group profiles changed over a period of time due to urbanization and due to change in landscapes around the lake and land uses correspondingly. So for this, I'll probably have to rewind a little bit, look at them historically. As I mentioned, these are all, most of them, almost I would guess a large percentage of them are man-made structures. So we use the term lakes, but technically they're not natural lakes. They're all man-made lakes, and how do we know that is? By finding out if they have a bund or not. A bund was, in the past, that was a system which was used to kind of block the flow of water, the streams of water, and develop a irrigation tank. So actually, technically, these are all irrigation tanks which date back to quite a long time. In fact, one of the lakes which I was researching, which is Agra Lake in South Bangalore, actually dates back to the 9th century AD. So that even predates Kempegowda's Bangalore. So these were man-made structures, as I said, for irrigation purposes primarily. But as we lead up to the colonial times and even the modern times, several structures were put into place that actually superseded the previous structures, which were basically local management structures centered in the villages that surround the lakes or that came up along the lakes. So the British, for example, they set up the irrigations department and try to kind of centrally control a lot of these systems for specific reasons. As we come into independent India, irrigation department continued into independent India, and several other departments, such as in more recent times the forest department also had a role in managing the lakes. Then we have the city corporation, BBMP. In the past it has played a role, currently it still plays a role. Then you have the Bangalore Development Authority, which also plays a role in developing the lakes in particular ways. Then you, in the more recent past, and from 2002 onwards, you have what is called as a Lake Development Authority, which was set up very specifically with the agenda of maintaining and managing the lakes in Bangalore to start with, and then extended to the rest of Karnataka. So, apart from these bodies, there are several other bodies also which interact with the lakes. You have the Fisheries Department, which actually regulates fishing activities in urban lakes. Then you have the BWSSB, Bangalore Water Supply and Sewerage Board, which is supposed to regulate and treat sewage and let out the treated sewage into the lake system. So that's another agency which has an interaction with the lake. So you have a multiplicity of agencies which are interacting, interfacing with these water bodies, and some of them don't now. For example, Forest Department doesn't have a role now. It had in the past, in the 80s and up to the 90s. BBMP has a major role at this point of time because the government, I think in 2008 or 9, decided that management of lakes needs to be done by the local city corporation, and LDA's role was questioned at that point of time because of public campaign as well as a public interest litigation by Environment Support Group, questioning the PPP model that they had, which was looking at managing the lakes, getting the lakes managed by private bodies in return for certain activities that could be commercial activities that could be conducted in the premises of the lakes. So there are several agencies. We also have to look at the jurisdictions and boundaries. I mean, if you talk about minor irrigation department and the panchayats, we are talking about areas outside the BBMP limits. So it depends on the size of the lake. So if the lake is between 0 to 20 acres, the local panchayat has the role of managing it. 20 to 40, it is the Zilla Panchayat. 40 and above is the minor irrigations department. But this is all outside the BBMP limits. Within BBMP limits at this point, BBMP is the sole authority with help from LDA. So LDA's role is diminished in the past several years, but it still has a role to play. So if you look at BBMP, one of the case studies one could look at is Alsur Lake. So for example, what have they done in that lake to maintain and manage the lake? So one is to create these bird islands, which have been, there are 2 bird islands on that lake. Then there is a walking path / jogging path all around the lake, and reinforcement of the bund. This has happened several years ago. It's not a recent phenomena. So their role in terms of managing these water bodies seems to be just to make sure that there are no encroachments. So you have a fence. Traditionally these water bodies were not fenced because they were overflow systems which actually had a fluctuating water spread area. So from my interaction, from my understanding of how they view these lakes is primarily to look at protecting the space, the lake's water spread area and the lake boundaries, to fence it and to create these ring bunds and jogging tracks around it and all that. I am not too sure how much role they play in several other features, such as monitoring the water quality of the lakes, facilitating different user groups in engaging with these lakes. But as I said earlier also, the BBMP has also, specifically if you look at Kaikondali Lake, the role that they have played there is slightly different. From playing a rather passive role to being a more active engager with different user groups, and therefore the management of that particular lake, Kaikondali as an example. So that has also happened. I have seen both these styles of engagement with the lake. The latter has happened largely because of, I would say, pressure and push from certain interest groups, user groups and other interest groups in that. So traditionally it has been a rather passive, hands-off approach. The interesting thing is that BBMP also has a role in managing the stormwater drains of Bangalore. That is clearly their jurisdiction, to make sure that the stormwater drains are not blocked, not encroached, and there is no solid waste / sewage or any other waste that is entering into the stormwater drains and consequently into the lakes. So I see BBMP as playing that role also. So stormwater drain management is a vital role as far as lake management is concerned, because the stormwater drains empty into the lakes. So stormwater drains also in the past they've been pulled up by several agencies, including the judiciary, for being lax in developing the stormwater drains. So I would see both these roles. So Bangalore Development Agency traditionally is supposed to be an agency which is involved in the planning of Bangalore, but their role is largely to define different zones, different types of user zones in the larger Bangalore planning district. So given that in the past they have developed several lakes, right from Agara to more recently Rachanahalli, and their role of their model, as I mentioned earlier, is largely in looking at redeveloping these lakes in such a way that they are contained, and they're not overflow structures. So they've done civil engineering work around the lakes in terms of building up around the lakes, building up ring bunds around the lakes, looking at how these older structures can be replaced by newer structures. As I said, the structures such as the sluice mechanisms, overflow mechanisms, how they can be replaced by other mechanisms which help to contain the lake rather than develop it in a particular way. So their development model is that to develop the spaces around these lakes so that the lakes can be contained to a particular region. So BDA also has this role of developing layouts. So BDA layouts are something which are well known. So there are several layouts which actually are tank beds which have been converted into layouts. So that is another role which they have played in the past and can be questioned. So why have these how have these tank beds been converted into layouts is the fact that, as I said earlier, a lot of these water bodies are not meant to be perennial, they are seasonal. So in the dry season, a lot of the tank beds are dry. So taking advantage of that, one goes and constructs a layout or diverts the water that comes in to the tank to other places, fills the lake bed with debris and then develops on it layouts or stadiums or several other things. But in BDA's case specifically, it is layouts. So they have played that role as well. So Forest Department came into lake management in the 80s, in the early 80s. There was this Lakshman Rao committee which was set up by the government to look into the situation of the lakes and make recommendations of how they could be improved, maintained better, etc. So one of their recommendations was to involve the Forest Department more strongly in the management of these spaces. At that point of time, the discourse seemed to move from these as being tanks which receive rainwater and store rainwater and help to manage the flow of rainwater into lakes in a very natural lake kind of way, to look at them as lakes which contain flora and fauna. So the focus of the Forest Department was more to develop these lakes as urban ecological spaces, which at one level is fine, but they also had a social role to play in terms of livelihood provision, like fishing. So they played that role for a while, and then the LDA was set up, which then started taking over the role of the Forest Department. Forest Department didn't take over all the lakes; they were assigned certain lakes in Bangalore, and they were maintaining them. Like Hebbal was one of the lakes which the Forest Department actually maintained for a while. And after the LDA was set up, the management was handed over to the LDA. So Forest Department's role seemed to be to look at these spaces as ecological spaces, thereby limiting the social roles that and uses that these lakes had played. Revenue Department doesn't have a role in that sense in lake management. See, Revenue Department's role is to maintain land records in some ways. So I'm not too clear. In some cases there has been encroachment of lake beds and layouts coming up and that. So Revenue Department will play some role in that. But yeah, that needs to be looked at from that point of view, land perspective. Fisheries Department, see, traditionally all these water bodies had that role of being spaces where one could fish for livelihood, for one's personal consumption and livelihood. So when I did research in Agara Lake, for example, I've spoke to some people over there who are traditional fishing families, fishing communities. Now, what the Fisheries Department came into managing regulating the fishing activity at a particular point in history. They've not always been doing that. So they came up with this system of, again, calling for tenders for fishing rights in particular lakes, fishing leases, not rights, fishing leases in particular lakes. I think those leases ran for 5 years at a time, and they were awarded to cooperatives. A cooperative fishermen cooperative could be set up, could bid for these fishing rights in a particular lake, and go ahead and fish for that period of time. So that was their role. So the fisheries department role, in one way, yeah, it facilitates livelihood for several people, several of the urban poor, to be able to provide them with a livelihood. But on the other hand, it has also kind of made this the whole tender system, where lakes are leased out for a certain amount of period of time, alienate certain local user groups. But this is not a uniform thing. For example, in Nagara, local user groups were alienated because the lease was taken up by a cooperative that was based out of Chickpet or some other place near in City Market. So the local user groups didn't have rights to fish because it was leased out to that particular group. So there was certain conflict over there. But in Rachanalli or in Nagara, for example, the fishing cooperative was a local fishing cooperative, and they had the rights. So then the local people, local fisher groups, were able to continue fishing in those spaces. So their role is largely to regulate fishing as a livelihood option for the urban poor, largely. Monitor the water quality of these lakes, and they can penalize certain maybe private groups or private companies which they feel are releasing polluted water into the water bodies. So their role is, yeah, largely a monitoring role, and they can provide the information that they collect, the monitoring information that they get, to other agencies like BBMP or LDA, for example. So the Pollution Control Board, for example, I'm not too clear to what extent they have coverage in terms of maintaining records of water quality of several lakes. I'm not too clear to what extent they've done that, and whether they could have done that better and could have been more proactive in terms of interfacing with the other agencies who are managing the lake and providing them with the data and the information and the perspective that these water bodies are being polluted to an extent which is damaging to the water body, water life, etc. BWSSB, its role in Bangalore has been to supply Bangalore with water, the Kaveri water. So it was set up as a agency in a specific time period where Kaveri water started being supplied to Bangalore, and they are also supposed to maintain the sewage system of Bangalore. So the sewage system, again, the sewage system corresponds with the three valleys, drainage valleys that we have in Bangalore. So they have centralized sewage treatment plants in the three valleys. So you have one in Koramangala and Chelagata Valley in the southeast of Bangalore. I think it is a 280 MLD plant over there, several plants. Then you have one in the Hebbal Valley. You have one in the Rishabhavati Valley, which is the western valley. So these three centralized sewage treatment plants receive sewage from the respective corresponding areas in Bangalore. They are supposed to treat the sewage, I think, up to a secondary treatment level and let them out into the water bodies. They have been, at least in the role that they have played in Belandur, one of the largest lakes in Bangalore. I think its water spread area ranges from 860 acres to 920 acres. So that used to be a lake which used to provide not only livelihood but also water and several other irrigation roles to 17-18 villages in that particular area. In the 70s, when Bangalore started receiving Kaveri water, the inflow of sewage into lakes like Belandur started increasing also. So from what I understand from interacting with people in BWSSB and also going to a Lok Adalat hearing, that the capacities that these sewage treatment plants have been set up, at least in KNC Valley, they are underperforming. They are performing at probably 50% capacity. So what happens is a lot of the sewage that they receive is untreated and is let out into these water bodies in that manner. So I feel the primary problem is the centralized management of sewage. It should be ideally done much more locally. I think there is a trend towards that, because I think several years ago government regulation came up which said that, which demanded that housing townships or building complexes which had 100 or more units need to treat their sewage locally in the complex itself, and they couldn't let their sewage out without it being treated. So that is one move towards that direction. So I feel that should be the role of the BWSSB, to manage sewage more at a more local level, not so much at a centralized city level. So the thing is, as I said, in the past, it was a very locally managed system, which had community participation and community tenure systems actually linked to the lake. So you had some communities doing managing particular parts of the lake. For example, you had one community managing the desilting of the lake. The silt was then used in the farm, in the agricultural land. Then you had some communities managing the bunds. Then you had some communities managing the canals that connect the lakes, and they were in turn, they had a inam system, where tenure system, where land was gifted in return for the services provided as far as the lakes were concerned. That, as I said, over time changed with the colonial times and modern Indian government. So if you look at what role they can play, see, the one thing that one has to be reconciled with is the inevitability of urbanization, which is actually, as I said, superimposed on a system which predated the city and what we see as Bangalore right now. Given that reality, the role that such government agencies have played and can play is to look at these systems in a more macro way. Like, for example, as I said, all of these systems in the past were interconnected. Some of them still continue to be interconnected to each other. So can we look at, can they look at these agencies, given their the scale at which they can operate and the money available to them, can they look at these systems in a macro way? The chain of lakes, managing a chain of lakes rather than managing a single lake, or isolated, looking at them as isolated water bodies. So some agencies have been able to kind of do that in a way, like the BBMP in collaboration with several local groups have come up with this model in Kaikondrahalli. That is an example, I feel, which is interesting. I mean, I'm a little skeptical to prescribe one size fits all model. It has to be very location and lake specific, but that was an interesting model. So the BBMP has played an interesting role through the efforts of other people as well. But then, so what is that role? It is to allow for local participation, local management, at the same time provide expertise in terms of the scaling up of these systems, and maybe technical expertise and money also, resources in that sense. LDA was supposed to be playing that role, but they came up with this model of privatizing or leasing out the lakes for 15 years at one time to private bodies. Their reasoning was they didn't have the financial resources as well as human power, manpower to manage the lakes, and therefore this model. So yeah, in that way I feel they can play a role in facilitating local participation as well as looking at the lakes in a macro perspective, looking at them in the three valleys as series of lakes, chains of lakes. See, one case, again coming back to Bellandur, there is a conflict between the BWSSB, for example, and the city corporation. The BBMP is now in charge of that lake. So then I don't know what level of coordination is there between these various agencies. I have spoken to several of these agencies, people working in these agencies. The sense that I get from that is there is a lack of coordination among these various agencies. So the fishery and their role is also kind of limited to one specific aspect. Like, for example, BWSSB is sewage treatment and discharge into the lakes. The BBMP is an overall maintenance of the lakes, but specifically looking at encroachment and other issues. Then you have the pollution control board, which is water quality maintenance. So I feel the roles are also quite fragmented in that way, and there is not much conversation that is happening between these different agencies. The other critical factor I feel which is a problem is several of these agencies are what are called as parastatal agencies. So they are not responsible locally. They report to the state authorities directly. So for example, BWSSB is a parastatal organization, BDA is another parastatal organization. BBMP is the only one which is not a parastatal and which is responsible and accountable locally to the wards and to the people who live in the wards in the surrounding areas. So that's another issue. Bangalore has a plethora of such parastatal agencies, which I think run into 40 or 50 odd number of them. That is also a problem in terms of who do they report to, who are they accountable to, and therefore the lack of coordination and lack of cooperation among these different agencies. See, I feel they can play a role of being responsive to groups like this who are involved and interested in kind of looking at how these water bodies can be managed. And also the other thing is, I personally feel that these water bodies have over the past facilitated a variety of user groups. So without losing sight of that fact, can these lakes be managed in a coherent manner? So when I'm talking about a variety of user groups, it can range from a naturalist, a bird watcher, it could be a recreation seeker, leisure seeker, it could be someone who's using that as a livelihood source. For example, fishermen, fishing groups, fishing communities, or people collecting fodder from around the lake for cows, which in turn produce milk which is supplied to people. So that's another livelihood linkage. So can all of these be kept in mind for specific water bodies? There are conflicts between different user groups. Like for example, birders and the fishermen are in very direct conflict. Can they provide a platform where all these different user groups can come together and talk about how their needs can be met and looked at and develop the lake accordingly? So Kaikondra loosely catered to this kind of a approach, I would say. So that is the future that I see, that it has to be a participative approach. Government has to play a particular role of facilitating the management of the lake in this manner, and clearly stay away from defining and demarcating lakes, and by that I mean agencies like the BDA, Bangalore Development Authority. I see no role for them in the management of lakes. In fact, the constitution, the legality of this body is also being questioned by several people. So the way they have been developing lakes of late is that they come up with a particular civil engineering plan to redesign these lakes. I've done a study in Rachanahalli, which is in North Bangalore, looking at what BDA has done. So they have converted a traditional system into a more contained system, I would say. So the structure of the lake itself has been changed from a lake which has a linear bund to a ring bund. So you have a ring bund which will actually contain the water body, and then land around it is freed for real estate development and other activities. So while I understand that real estate development is an inevitable feature of a city developing, how can that be done in a sensible manner and sensitive manner to these socio-ecological spaces? For example, if you build layouts on downstream of a water body, you are going to have your basements flooded. So there are certain very basic questions that need to be asked. When it rains in Bangalore, the water needs particular channels. In the past and even now, these water bodies provide those channels. So water is collected in the stormwater drains, directed to the lakes, and then they cascade downstream, which is a very sensible system for a city, I would still say. So when we go and kind of interfere with this system and try to build all around and try to use grab as much land as we want, that will lead to several things, such as I said, flooding. Now, flooding happening in Bangalore is highly ironic because we are located roughly 1000 meters above sea level. So we've seen similar things happen in Srinagar and all of that. So that's basically interfering with the drainage system, a natural drainage system which is buffered by man-made structures such as the lakes that we see. So I would say agencies like BDA stay away from the lakes, but maybe BBMP can play a role. LDA can play a role. Lake Development Authority can play a role, but I would say it should play a role of a nodal agency, not so much as a hands-on developmental agency. It can manage databases, provide technical expertise. It can provide resources wherever required, but the implementation would have to be in the local corporations' hands. I feel, with participation by people. More and more people are getting interested, which is a good sign. So yeah, and I also feel that at different points in time, how the lakes have been managed have been defined by how different people as well as the government has viewed these water bodies. They started off with a history of being irrigation tanks. They moved into in the 80s it was seen as a natural space where birds and other flora fauna can thrive in an urban landscape. That's how the forest department came into the picture. And then later on it was looked as an entertainment space. So LDA leased the lakes out to private bodies. So you have Lumbini developers offering like water sports and boat riding in the lakes and all that. So it's seen as a entertainment space, leisure / entertainment recreation space. So that's a different thing. But I would also kind of point out that lakes have a vital role to play in terms of water security of Bangalore, and Bangalore is fast running out of water. Groundwater levels are depleting, so they can play a role in terms of buffering surface water as well as recharging groundwater in the city. So that's one thing which we should kind of keep sight of, and managing the drainage of rainwater to prevent things like flooding and all of that. See, the ideal fantasy would be locally managed water bodies, but that is asking for too much, in the sense that one has to be pragmatic about these things. If you look at the urban spaces and the urban populace that is there, including people like me, we have our preoccupations, our urban lifestyles and demands that we have, that our livelihood, lifestyles, etc. make on us. So how much time and energy and mind space do we have to be involved in the management of these water bodies? So that is a reality that we have to kind of accept. There are several groups, there are several people who are interested in looking at these spaces and trying to manage these spaces along with the authorities, but that is not a city-wide feature. That is located in specific areas, specific regions, specific groups. So given that, I would say that the state still plays a role in taking the lead in most cases, but they should also be open to encouraging, including people in management of lakes. So there is one idea that came up of lake management committees, to set up lake management committees, like how we have these ward committees. So something similar. So can the different corporators or the BBMP itself look at lake committees, lake management committees? This idea was tried out earlier, I think in Hebbal Lake, but it didn't go too far, I think. But that is where the state can take a lead for sure, by setting up these lake management committees and inviting people, and then responding to the invitations of the people. But again, my doubt is that how many people, how many groups will respond to this invitation. If there are enough groups to respond to the number of lakes that are there in Bangalore, I am more than happy. But that may not happen, and I am talking about this in terms of the number, the volumes of the lakes that we have. So BBMP on one of its websites has listed 198 lakes within its jurisdiction. So we are talking about those numbers, and a lot of lakes have been lost also. But yeah, coming back to your question, I think the ideal model would be a participation between local groups who live near the lake, who are interested, concerned with the lake, and the BBMP or the government agency. But I still feel the government agency has to take a lead because of the reasons I said earlier.